Hey, I'm Lisa, and as you can see, Rasheida is not here. Thank you for joining us for tonight for Let's Talk. Hey, listen, we've got some special things going on tonight. Obviously, we're not in a regular location. You can see it's beautiful behind me. You can see that I have some gorgeous sisters sitting beside me. Don't tell Rasheida. I hope she ain't watching. I mean, yeah. Do what I do. Anyway, no, they're here because they're our special guests tonight. We as people of color, we have finally awakened in a way that we are demanding that we celebrate Juneteenth, that we get our just due. And so these young ladies who are with me have a special connection to Juneteenth, and so we've invited them here tonight to talk about their connection. I'm going to introduce them, and I'm gonna cheat and look at my paper, okay? So we have with us tonight Letitia, and I wanted to call her Hightower because I know her father is Hightower, but Letitia Hines, and we have Jasmine Thomas. Both of them are members of the Roots Foundation Incorporated. They're based here in Gary, Indiana. Yes. They primarily work, they're 501c3 organization working with our youth to make sure that youth get prepared for college, making sure that they have support, just trying to make sure we get the thing done, because Gary imparted so much into us. A number of us have come back to the city and moved back, i.e. from New York and all those things, to try to make things happen for our youth. So these ladies have joined me tonight. Thank you for being here.
Appreciate it.
Our pleasure. And first, before we even get into the whole Juneteenth thing, and it's really special because obviously we know that Juneteenth started being celebrated by statewide anyway in 1980. Texas was the first state to actually recognize it and say we're going to make it a holiday. But we're on monumental ground right now that the Senate has already passed it. We're waiting for the House to pass it officially and become a federal holiday. But we're going to get back to that because they do some real special stuff, so we want them to talk about it. But before we get into it, tell me about you guys and your effort as far as Roots Incorporated is concerned.
Okay, so the Roots Foundation, as she's already mentioned, is a 501(c)(3). It's a mentorship program in which we want to be there for teens 13 to 18 in all areas, as far as academically, athletically, when it comes to the fine arts. And so we help mentor and steer our youth in the right direction and where they need to be to help them prepare for any collegiate next level or anything, as far as the career path that they choose. In addition to that, we do educate them in mental health awareness, financial literacy, physical health awareness, as far as disability awareness. We want them to be mindful of all of the different type of environments that they'll be put in, the different type of people that they'll face in life. We want them to just be aware and be prepared for all of those aspects all across the board. So we do different things with them. We do community service works where we go out, we have them to kind of tell us what they want. Some of them will say, hey, we want to do a park cleanup, or we want to do some kind of back to school giveaway. Whatever the teens want is kind of where we gear and steer our direction towards. After this, we have so much coming up for the youth. We want to do college days for them. Every month we want to have a different month dedicated to some kind of awareness that we help we bring to them and educate them in any type of way that we can. We're doing programs where we can help them prepare for state tests like I Read, I Learn, MWEA, all of that. Myself being an educator, Jasmine working with tons of youth, we think it's important to especially prepare them academically, because we know that the states, they're throwing all these tests at our kids, and they have so much to face in their everyday lives that it can become overbearing and overwhelming. So we kind of want to help them know, like, we're here, we know what's going on, and we're here to help you reach whatever goal it is that you need to reach academically. If it's reading that's a concern, if it's math that's a concern, whatever it is, we know that that's important first and foremost before we can get to the second, any type of extracurriculars like basketball, if you want to be a model, whatever it is, before we can get to that, education is always number one with us. So that's a little bit of a background about the Roots Foundation. I'll let Jasmine talk if she has anything to add.
I also wanted to add, other programs that we're trying to reiterate, just do for the community as well, as far as the youth. Something to give them something to look forward to. Mm-hmm. So we have events, we were talking about, having stuff in the park, giving them something as far as like sports-wise, give them something to look forward to help them build their more athletic built for the future. If they wanted to go pro or, semi-pro, however they decide to do, as well as education as well, like you said about, other different programs. So we have a lot that we have in store. So we just want everyone to realize that we're here to stay and, give the community something that we all need for, as far as the Northwest Indiana, a lot of people don't know about us, but we're here to, help create a better environment for everyone.
And I think the most important part, what started us, is that we realized in our community growing up, we had so much to do when we were young. Whether you were in ROTC, whether you were played baseball for any type of little league, whether you played Pop Warner, whether you were in bitty basketball, it was so much Xenos, balls, whatever it was, and we realized that it's not a lot for our youth to do. And this is the reason why they're turning to violence. This is the reason they're turning to drugs, whatever it is that they're turning to that they don't need to be. This is the reason. There's nothing for them to do. They have nothing to look forward to. So we realize that, and we've recognized that it is not up to our parents anymore. It's up to our generation as millennials to step in and grab a hold to that next generation that's coming up. Our parents did their due diligence. They passed the baton to us, so it's our turn to pass the baton down to the future generation that's coming. And by us realizing that, growing up here in this community, especially if you're a resident of Gary, Indiana, it's very tough. And it's so easy to go down the wrong path as a young woman, as a young man. And we realized that, and if it wasn't for certain organizations that we had, such as DARE programs, different boys and girls club, whatever it was, we wouldn't probably be where we were today. And so we kind of just want to be one of those milestones, one of those foundations, one of those legacies that, okay, I sent my child to the Root Foundation, and they helped them, they steered them in the right direction. They helped me as a parent, because I didn't know the process of getting to college or whatever it was. I knew my child needed an outlet, but I wasn't able to, I didn't know what it was. So when I sent them to your program, I saw this change. And so that's kind of what we want to be, what was given to us when we were teenagers and when we were children.
And so this is an interesting perspective, too, because you guys graduated from the Gary High School in what year?
I graduated in 2010 from Thea Bowman.
My children are their age. Okay, go ahead.
But I actually went to Maryville High School. I graduated in 2012, but I've also been uplifted through the community in Gary, and that's why I wanted to give back, because I've had all the resources from Gary, Indiana, and they gave back to me, so I wanted to do the same, so to give back to the community.
And so here's the interesting, that's what I said, it's an interesting perspective, because they're my children's age, right? And so I graduated from Gary High Schools in 1984. And so I look back and say, y'all didn't have anything to do compared to what we had to do. All right? We had like triple the amount of stuff to do. And so, and the other thing that these young ladies don't know about me, because we didn't talk about my background, they know me as being part of Lisa and Rasheida effort, but I am the vice chair for Gary Alumni Pathway to Students, GAPS. And we run the career development and the career fair every year. So the Gary Community School District, we partner with them. We're their partner. So we put on that career fair and everything that goes on every year.
Okay.
So we're going to be having some more discussion off camera when we wrap this up, because right now we're going to stay focused on Roots. But I'm going to drag them into some more work. Since they say they want it, we just got $1.3 million. We just got our grant for $1.3 million. You guys might have seen that right up the other day.
Oh, wow.
And so we are looking to do a lot of stuff in Gary. And we are, too, as alumni, came back. We all live in different parts of the country. We came back and said, I started with the West Side Alumni Association. I saw that you went to Thea Bowman. I was going to be like, yeah, well, we ain't going to overlook that piece. That didn't even really exist. That was a dirt mound. It was weeds when I was in high school, but yeah. But we gonna let her get away with that.
A cougar is gonna do what a cougar does.
So anyway, so yeah, we're gonna talk about getting together and doing some partnering after this. So I definitely want to put you in contact with our executive director, Dr. Diane Jackson Chapman.
Okay.
Because we're always looking for advocates and looking for partners to do what we do. So the more of us that are in there doing the work, the better it'll be for everybody, and we won't miss something. Because one of the things is, I started the West Side Alumni Association, and then GAPS was the bridge to bring all the Gary alumni together for the traditional schools, right? Because the charter schools didn't exist then.
Right.
But now it seems like we might have a bridge into the charter
And to
schools.
throw that in there, I am the president of the
I
Alumni
saw that.
Association.
I saw that in her bios. I was like, I'm going to scratch that part out. So anyway, there obviously it's some common ground, but thank you guys for that, because again, they've mentioned it. You guys got to get out here and support the efforts that we're coming from. And you lived in Indianapolis, right?
I
So
did.
you guys moved away, and we move away. We gain knowledge and we try to come back. But you got to soak it up and you got to help us.
Gotta come back home.
So one of the things that you guys have been working on specifically, and like I said, I mentioned it earlier, that we've been fighting. We've always celebrated July 4th, and some of that's because our own heritage, our own folks didn't know, right? It took 2.5, 3 years for the slavery was over, but slaves still didn't know, right? And so we have just become awakened in the last few years, I think, nationally, or at least on the national level, to start to bring some recognition to Juneteenth. But you guys have been celebrating Juneteenth and making a big effort. And if you heard the music earlier while we were talking, it's because there are young ladies out here rehearsing for this week's event. So real quickly, I want to plug. Make sure you get out here on Juneteenth and support them. We're at the Marquette Pavilion in Gary, Indiana, at the Marquette Dunes Park.
Yes.
You're Pavilion number 5.
Shelter 5.
Shelter number 5 is the big pretty one right across the water from the main building. So don't have no excuses. Get out here. What time the event starts?
It starts at 1 p.m., 1 to 6.
1 to 6. So you got 5 hours to get yourselves out here
Yes.
and celebrate their efforts. So talk to me about what you guys have been doing, how long you've been doing it, why you decided to take this on. Are you educating all of Black America? What is it? What's up? What's going on?
Let's talk about how we started.
Yeah,
it.
I'm going to start from the beginning.
Okay.
So we'll just start a little bit on me and Jazz's history. So last year, I think the pandemic set everybody down, and it kind of made everybody think, what's really going on, and it kind of awoke everybody to just kind of want to know more about who we are as a people. And why we have to go through what we have to go through so hard to have a fighting chance on any kind of monopoly board. And so one day I just woke up and I was like, I want to do something that's uplifting in my community, and I'm just going to just tell everybody, just come, bring your businesses, and we're going to just buy black. And so I looked on Facebook and I saw that Jazz was doing the same thing, and I'm getting ready to write her, and before I can do it, she writes me.
So you guys didn't know each other?
Not at all.
Awesome.
Not at all.
But the funny part is our moms grew up in church together,
Okay.
and we never met each other, so it was just like meant to happen.
But God know what he doing. He don't really need y'all help. I don't want to break the news to you, but
Right. And so from there, me and Jazz were like, well, let's start these groups where we kind of just talk as young Black people about what we have to face in our community, different things that we go through, because we don't talk about the fact that we deal with PTSD, we deal with trauma, we deal with the pressure of just feeling like we got to show that we exist. And so from that, it just stemmed into, let's give back to the youth, let's do that, and it just transformed into our non-for-profit, but the sole purpose of our Juneteenth event was we wanted to uplift our community and show everybody that we have the resources right here in your very own backyard.
Absolutely.
The things that you buy from different designers, foreign designers, you have the same people in your community that can hand make and sew those things.
We just as good.
You don't want to get me started. Go right ahead.
And so we were kind of just like, okay, we had limited all kind of things. We kind of just took it and just ran with it. And then within 2 weeks,
We did the whole event in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We met each other and did it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks. And then from that, it kind of just, it was beautiful. It seemed like everything was enough. We had so many people that came out. We didn't even really know, we didn't have any food vendors, but it worked. We had people that came and just started getting on the grill, barbecuing. Jazz had her boyfriend out there. Other people was out there that we know, like educators that were like, okay, I'm gonna get on the grill. Her family, my family, and it just worked. And so this year we decided, with us having our mentorship, our non-for-profit, let's kind of center it around what we're doing and let's push it even further. We're going to have a fashion show this year with about 4 designers, 3 artists, spoken word, a gospel choir, and 1 hip-hop artist. So we were like, let's just show people that beyond the black businesses, you have talent. You have designers here. You have fashion. You have music. You have spoken word. You have sauce on everything. So Jazz,
Sauce. She said sauce on everything.
sauce on everything. And I want to
give.
give credit to her on that name, because she called me one day. She's like, Tisha, I want you to be open-minded. And I was like, okay, because we wanted this name where every year our festival was known. And I was like, okay, Jazz, you're scaring me a little bit. What's going on? And she was like, so fast. And I was like, so fast? And she was like, sauce on everything. So I paused for a second and I'm like, okay, give me more. And she's like, because we have sauce on our fashion, our food, our music. And I'm like, yes, I love it. And I was like, okay. And for a long time, it was just like, it started to stick so fast. Sauce on everything. Okay. And so that's the funny, the story behind the name of our festival.
And so you guys started a year ago.
Yep.
During COVID.
Yep.
Had your first festival.
Yep.
And in less than a year, you have gotten your 501c3. So your nonprofit organization, they can solicit funds. So you need to come on and write the money. Come on. Okay. That means they're fiscally responsible. All right, let's do that. Okay. And so you started out with how many vendors? No vendors last year.
No, we did.
We have vendors, yes.
So the way you were telling the story, it reminds me of our tribe, right? We as African Americans, I can't speak for other cultures, so don't get offended. I've only ever been Black and Native American, but we get together as a community and we do things. And you relatives and you kin to everybody, although you don't share any DNA. You take in and you fit in, you get in where you fit in. That's the way we're raised. And so that feels great to hear that in a time, even during COVID, you guys came out of that and were able to make a bridge for the community to start healing. And as a matter of fact, that's how this show, Let's Talk, came.
Wow.
We started doing a YouTube show because we're a same-sex couple, been married for 20 years. Next month. I didn't forget, baby. 20 years, and we have 4 adult children who said, you guys have a story to tell. And so we started fiddling around with it. Then COVID hit, and we go, okay, not only is the LGBTQ community having an even more difficult time, but I'm in ministry, so there was something. I'm African American, there was something. I'm the only African American female executive at the world's largest consulting firm. Wow. There was something else. So we go, okay, so we do have some story to tell. But then we went into this shock thing, right? With, as you said, all of the isms. We check all the doggone boxes, and we have no support system. So we started to grow out that way because we go, people are at home with all this anxiety. They need something to do with it. So they support us. We got a few followers, 10,000 followers now, and subscribers. And so you guys have done the same thing. You've taken that bridge and made something out of it and given the community, brought the community together. So thank you for doing that.
Yes.
So tell me, what can we expect this year?
Oh, wow. As far as the Roots Foundation or the
Both.
Growth, that's what I want to say, growth and uplifting the community, bringing more resources, allowing an outlet for youth. That's the whole thing. We just want to have an outlet for everyone to be able to come together and be one. No more of the cliquiness. Everyone is one in the community, and we all come together and rebuild the whole city. So that's the goal.
That's the goal.
Just in addition to what she said, for the Roots Foundation, what we've realized too is why we named it the Roots Foundation is we realized that we have to get to the root of the problem.
Absolutely.
And the problem is that we are so divided, not just as a culture, but just as a world, and so we feel like diversity needs to be included in our organization. And so we're looking to just reach out in other, in other directions, not just African American, but other, pull others in. And kind of just show that at the end of the day, we all come from one creator, and at the end of the day, if it stops being so divided, then the issue, everything is all love. And that's kind of what we want. We want our children to feel comfortable going to other environments and not feeling like they don't belong. So we want to mix them in with people that are not like them, so that they can be comfortable when they go to colleges that are not HBCU, and they can say, I know how to interact with someone who is not like me.
Right.
I don't have to be...
There's richness in that.
I don't have to be a product of my environment. I know where I come from, but I don't have to go anywhere and act like I've been through what I've been through. I can hold my head up high. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. I can hold my head up high and I can say, I came from this and this made me who I am. And I can interact with you, and then I can go back home with my people, So we want them to feel comfortable. I know when I went to college, I didn't feel comfortable. I was like, wait a minute. It was a total culture shock for me, and I know how difficult that can feel. And so we want to kind of reach out, pull others in, so that our kids and our community can feel safe when they go. They have that confidence that I know I can step into this room because I belong here.
That's right. I belong. I have a right to be here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, Jasmine, any final words you want to get in?
She gave a very good speech. I have nothing to follow up behind that, but she did really an awesome job. I can just say, as far as, helping with the community, you do want to help uplift and bring them, allow them to have their own identity, help them allow them to be comfortable, like you said, and be them in that environment wherever they are. So, it's all a teaching moment for everyone. So, just like she said, it's going to happen. So, it's all about learning.
Jazz said, we are here to stay.
We're here to stay.
So, that being said, I'm going to do two things, and we're going to wrap this segment up. First is, I'm going to bring some attention back to the Juneteenth, because I read an article today, even the AARP, so come on people, y'all got to get with it. If the AARP is writing an article about Juneteenth, they gave out, I wrote this down today, they gave out 6 points that every American, I didn't say African American, every American needs to know to support Juneteenth. AARP article came out today, says, learn the full history. Learn why people want to celebrate. Don't just make snap judgments. It said celebrate. It's okay that you don't agree. I'm not Jewish, but I take the holiday off, and I do like some kosher food. Hey, I celebrate everybody's culture. There's nothing wrong with you stopping to celebrate mine. Support black-owned businesses. Like you mentioned earlier, we will go to Red Lobster. They can mess up our order 55 times, and we go back every time. But if somebody who looks like us mess up our order, we put it on Facebook, Instagram, Earth, whatever that is. We even go back to what's them old ones called?
Yes.
MySpace. We'll put it wherever we can find it.
We gotta go.
Space Jam. We got to shout it out. But we will give Red Lobster, who does not give a flying red. The Darden family don't know you. They don't. And they don't care.
They don't.
So you need to give people some opportunity. Acknowledge our history and spread the word.
Yes.
Half of a problem is acknowledging that the problem exists. It's real simple. That's 50% of the equation.
Yes.
All you got to do is have empathy. We didn't tell you men don't give birth to babies, but if you see your wife or your girl in pain from pushing out a big head 9-pound baby, you know she hurting. You ain't have to experience it to know that she's in pain.
Yes.
It's called empathy and love. Just go show some compassion.
Yes,
Donate to an organization that supports Juneteenth and that supports diversity and inclusion. And then attend a Juneteenth celebration. Like the one that's going to be here on June 19th from 1 to 6 at the Pavilion number
5
at Marquette Park in Gary, Indiana. So get out here and join.
Please.
Now, my last shameless plug, you know that I'm also a life strategist and coach. These young ladies are a testimony to what I tell y'all all the time. Go to my website, sign up, IamIHaveICan.com, because what they were just talking about is exactly what I tell you. What you focus on is what you'll manifest. God does not pass judgment. He says, you have not because you ask not.
Yes.
You knock and the door shall open, seek and you shall find. He never told you he was going to make a judgment on what you asked him for. He said, I will give you the desires of your heart. He didn't say if it was wrong and he didn't agree with it, he wasn't going to give it to you. That's not the promise. The promises are yes and amen. So the fact is that they focused on what they wanted to do, and therefore it manifested and God rewarded them. If you ain't got what you want, that's your fault. Take it to the king. This is Lisa. Peace out. We'll catch y'all next week.
Yeah.
See you.
Yes.